was the start of the Wallace airship era. There's not much left of it today, but in its time it was the English centre of airship construction. There was a huge shed, it was called then. The word hangar didn't seem to have been coined. The big airship shed on Walney Island, which is on the north side of Morecambe Bay, was a hive of airship industry.
Aeroplanes could only do about 1,000 miles non-stop carrying a payload, whereas our airships could do 6,000 or 7,000 miles non-stop. And Bernie put up to the government that we should take up airships as mail and passenger carriers running from England to Canada and eastwards to India. And so the government gave an order to Vickers, build us another airship. And that was the R100, where I put forward designs. And she was very successful. We flew her out to Montreal in Canada and back again. Now it happened that when that order was given to Vickers, a Labour government was in power. And they said to themselves, we're not going to have Vickers having a monopoly in airships just as they did in submarines. We will build a rigid airship too. And they had these great sheds at Cardington, which had been built in the First World War. And they collected 3 or 4 technicians who'd never designed an airship in their lives before. And these poor fellows were set to build an airship which had the number 101. We were R100. And she was too heavy. They had to cut her in half and put in an extra bag, but even so she was not successful. But as we had been to Canada and back, they felt they had to go. And so these chaps took their lives in their hands and started off one wet night, one Saturday night, and they got 250 miles and then crashed just north of Amiens at Beauvais in France, and 55 people, I think, were killed. That ended airships altogether.
It came at a time when perhaps it was pretty obvious that airships were never going to be a going concern. They worked all right, but of course we hadn't got the non-inflammable gas in those days. And airships, of course, are always subject to the vagaries of the wind, which is the thing that's even today has been found to be a drawback. And I suppose Wallace naturally turned to applying his inventive genius, which in this case was really the geodetic system, and to an aeroplane. And of course the Wellesley monoplane was it was a small airship really in a way.
Of course I brought in all my airship technique, and the Wellesley was the first aeroplane, the structure of which I designed, and the result was she won the world's long-range record, which remained in our possession for 11 years, I think. Out of the Wellesley grew the Wellington.
It was the whole principles of geodetic construction were applied to it. As a structure, it's almost non-destructible, and of course it was exactly what was wanted at that time. It's a wonderful example of having the right thing at the right time, because the war was going and we just wanted a bomber that would go to Germany and come back, and as you know, they did that. They went to Germany and they came back in some of them in a terrible state of half shot to pieces. And this proved, of course, the Wellesley construction, the geodetic construction perfectly.
She was so successful because the war started. They wouldn't let us design another airplane because we were in production, full production on Wellingtons. Over 11,000 of them were built. And so I turned my attention to bombs, and that is how the dam busting and the 10-ton bomb came into being. Actually, you know, Nelson